people who are shining their beautiful lights in the world. This week we have an incredible self-love, child work, just an ode to you, because that's what Valentine's Day is all about. And we have Lona Mason this week.
So last week, if you didn't catch, we got to talk with Lona about her photography business. We got to talk with her about her empowerment sessions and some of the ways in which she incorporates her higher purpose into her everyday life. And so please go check that out. We have it saved in our YouTube videos. But without any more interruption, we'll just go ahead and send it over to Lona.
Okay. Well, if you don't have a mirror or a journal or a notebook or something to write things down in, I'll give you a moment to go ahead and grab that. Hey, Google.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say too, I have my picture of myself as a child on my phone, but I also have just like a doodle of that same picture here for physical copies. So you can be creative with that just as long as you have something to remind yourself of you as a child. Yes.
Yeah. As long as you have something to look at, because we're going to be talking to our child self today.
So again, what brought you to wanting to do like a child's child work, inner child work?
Well, actually, it came. It was something I have seen before. I can't remember her name, but she does like videos and stuff, and she's also very empowering. And talks about motherhood and how difficult that can be sometimes, and we lose ourselves often in that state. So it was kind of an activity that she had done that I felt was really powerful. So we're going to kind of do a version of that today because as we were talking in our introduction, today is about self-love. And self-care, those kind of come together and intertwine. You can't really have one without the other, honestly. So I'm kind of spinning off of what I try to project with my business, with my clients, and the experiences that they have with me and how I go about it. So I'm going to start by explaining a little bit about what we're going to do. When I have clients, I always send them a questionnaire. And part of this questionnaire is asking them to list some things they don't like about themselves and some things they do like about themselves. And now, since this is a photography experience, more than likely they're going to list things that are physical, like I don't like my neck or my chin or my butt or my chest or whatever. But I want this experience right now today it's okay to think of more than that. So we're going to think about things that we like about ourselves, things we don't like about ourselves. And it doesn't have to be physical. It can be something mental, something social, just something beyond your physical appearance is okay. So as I was planning this session teaching today, where did I put my phone? I'm looking at it. I saw this funny little quote today about talking to yourself, and it said something about look at yourself and say to yourself the same things that Steve Irwin might say to a snake that he found in the desert.
I love that.
And I love that because he's just a cool guy. And he always was super excited no matter what creature he came upon. It was always just amazing and incredible and just
This year, like, look
so many what?
Oh,
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like I'm the Steve Irwin in my photography business because I have clients come in and I'm just like gushing over how amazing I think they are and things about them that I like. And as I've also journeyed through my own self-love, you know, I know that there are times in our lives where it's really, really hard to be kind to ourselves, and we have to be intentional about it. So today we're going to do an activity to give you that opportunity to practice that intentionality. Maybe not every day, but you know what? Call Sunday your self-love Sunday. Work on it on Sunday. Do one thing for yourself. So what was I was gonna say how okay, so let's do the activity and kind of I'm gonna tie it in with my discussion as well. The first thing I want us to do is to write down 3 things that we don't like about ourselves. I'm gonna put my notebook there. And this can be physical or emotional, personality trait, whatever you come up with. Okay, now once you have those down, I want you to pay attention to what part of you've written down. Like for me, I wrote down 2 things about my body and 1 thing about my mind. And I think that it's possible that often our list will be heavy on the side of the body because we look at that every day. Every day we look in the mirror, every day that's who we're greeting in the morning. So those might be more profound for you. Okay. So now I want you to take that picture out that you have of yourself. And I'll show mine. This is mine. If you can see it.
Oh. Shall we share ours?
Yeah, share yours.
Mine is baby Mary.
Aww.
Yeah.
Mine's me as a little schoolgirl.
Aww.
Can I see yours again? I only got to see.
Oh, let's see.
Oh, that's sweet. Is that your brother?
That's my brother Jesse. Whoops, there we go.
Oh.
That's my grandfather. He passed away in 2008. He was a pretty special guy.
It looks like you had a close bond.
Absolutely. Him and my grandma, they were our happy place. They were very special to us. My grandfather passed away of kidney failure in 2008. And luckily, he stuck around enough to come to my wedding, so that was pretty cool. And then my grandmother passed away last year. She had Alzheimer's, and that was pretty awful. But now they're happy, and they're together, finally.
Yeah.
What they wanted for so long, and I think they're finally at peace. So that makes my heart happy. But I chose this picture for, well, a logical reason is that I didn't really have a whole lot of pictures to access because some of them are in the attic and I won't go up there because it's winter and all the bats are sleeping up there.
Yeah.
So no. And the other reason is actually I had made this photo album for my grandmother when she was suffering from Alzheimer's to try to help her recognize family members and stuff. So this was one of those pictures in there, but it was mainly for Grandpa because that was the one person she always recognized. And I'm young and I look super happy, but I really wasn't very happy back then, except when I was at my grandparents' house. So there's that. Okay, so now we're going to do something intentional. And if you don't want to speak these things out loud, you can write them. This is going to be a really hard activity and it might evoke some emotion, so that's okay. Just sit with it. So I want you to have your picture in front of you. And those 3 things that you wrote down that you don't like about yourself. Those things are at the forefront of your mind because that's what came out when I opened that door for you. So my assumption would be that those are some things that weigh heavily on your heart. They might be things that you say to yourself on a regular basis. So I want you to look at that picture and I want you to write down those things that you don't like as if you were saying it to that child. And I'll give you a minute to sit with that. Okay, and since this isn't a really interactive video, you ladies, I'm going to kind of rely on you to let me know if I need to pause and give you some more time.
I don't. It's hard because like my heart is being tugged right now, but I don't know whether or not I want to sit in it or whether or not I feel like I'm ready to keep moving. So I think maybe you keep going, and if I really feel like the flow is going too quick, I'll ask to slow down a second.
Okay. So the real challenge here is to speak those words. I'm going to go first for myself, and this is going to be if you feel comfortable doing this, then go ahead. If you want to wait for some other time, it's whatever you are comfortable with doing. I'm going to say that don't judge your own comments based on mine. Like I've mentioned before, all of our journeys are in different places. No matter where you're at, it is still valid. I myself have processed a lot of these things already. So it was a little bit more difficult for me to come up with some things I don't like about myself. But if you would have asked me this, or if I would have asked me the same question a year ago, I probably could have come up with way more than 3 things. And, excuse me, they would have been fairly cruel. And I think that, and I say this because I've done this activity for myself before, and they were very cruel. So, I'm going to hold up my picture, and I'm going to say these words to this child. You have ugly ankles. You're so forgetful. You have ugly man hands. Now, I want you to do that same thing to your picture. And then after that, I want you to sit with that feeling.
Okay. Well, I'm already crying, so I'm just going to go for it.
I'm sorry. It evoked more emotions in me than I had expected also.
Oh, it's good. I think Valentine's Day is for this, right?
Yeah.
Open heart. So, my picture. Oh, I'm having trouble even saying it. Your anxiety makes you lesser. Your intelligence is not enough. Your skin is ugly. And you are not socially aware enough to carry yourself. Okay, cool.
That was so awesome. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Lona.
I know I'm challenging you pretty hardcore today.
Oh. Okay.
So when we wrote to our child, I wrote how I talk to my kids about things like this. And so I think I'm going to add in that portion of it. Acne may cover your face. It is just a cloak that you too will shed. Your tiny chest is the strength that you exude every day. Your automatic negative thoughts are just the shadows in your mind. You are the light. You are intentional. Your mind is growing and you are changing my life.
was beautiful, Mary. You're a poet. I love that. And this is the moment I want us to swallow. Realizing that those things we say to ourselves, we're saying to all phases of ourselves. That even though we have moved on to an age of 20-something or 30-something, what we say to ourselves matters. We hear our own thoughts all the time. We are our own worst critics. And if we want to love ourselves, we have to start with our own heart. I think that activity is really powerful. Because it's easy. I do. Obviously, I see how much emotion is evoked for all of us. And anyone watching, I assume, is going to feel the same way. Because somehow we find it easier to be cruel to an adult than to a child. But we're still that person. We're still that child inside our hearts and in our minds. It's the same soul. We've just gotten bigger.
That's what I say when my kids say that you're not, they refer to me still as a child. And I say, you're right, I'm still a child. I've just gotten bigger. And that's the whole message right there.
It's so true. And I think that as a mother, that's another really impactful thing to add to that. You know, we say things to ourselves and our children hear that. They hear that and they internalize it, and they make decisions about how they're going to view themselves or other people based on how we do that for our own self. If I don't carve out self-care time in my life, I'm showing my child that that's not important. I'm telling him that you are on the back burner because you're not important enough. And I don't want him to think that. I want him to think that he is valuable, that sometimes it's okay to just put everything aside and take a hot bath for 3 hours. It's okay to do that because we have to. We have to be kind to ourselves so that we have the capability of being kind to others. And that's really hard because we have a lot of noise coming at us from society, from everyday life, from people that we maybe grew up with, sometimes our own parents. A lot of noise to get through. So let's take a deep breath. Okay. The next step that we're going to do is the positive. So this time I want you to write down 3 things that you like or love about yourself. Okay. Again, I think it's important for us to acknowledge what parts of us we've written about. And I say this because I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but at least for me, it is much more easy to come up with intrinsic traits that I like about myself than it is to come up with physical traits.
That's hilarious because I was like, holy crapola, I had like all bodily almost, and then now they're all intrinsic.
See?
I was like, all three of my things this time were about my mind.
Yes.
And that's really important for us to know, because while those intrinsic things are valuable and powerful and important, that's not what we see when we look in the mirror every day. That's not what we berate ourselves on when we look in the mirror every day. So my challenge to you is to think about that. Think about something that you have to see every day and write maybe 2 or 3 on a list. This is my challenge, my assignment. Put it on your mirror. These are going to be things that make you feel self-conscious, that maybe sometimes preoccupy your mind when you'd rather be mindful. Even if you don't believe them right now, write them down anyway. This list you're going to keep for yourself. You're going to put it on your mirror. You're going to read it every day. And I challenge you to keep it there until you can read that list and not feel doubt. Regardless of how long it takes.
Just curious, when you've done this activity, how long have you kept the note by your bed or by your mirror or whatever before?
Actually going to talk about that a little bit. So my first experience with this sort of process happened while I was in grad school. And it was a little bit more challenging because it wasn't just myself saying these things, it was a group of strangers. So even more difficult for me to swallow, to be honest. I was taking a group therapy class, and we ended up doing some positive affirmations for each other. These people, all of us participated. We wrote positive things about another person in the class on a Post-it note, and then we got to keep our Post-it. I was actually shocked. I mean, I really had a very inaccurate idea of myself, and none of the things on my list were physical. They were all intrinsic traits that I didn't recognize in myself, but other people did. So I actually chose to keep that Post-it, and I had it on my mirror for 7 years. 7 years before I looked at that note and I believed everything on it for myself. And I say that because I think it's important, again, like I've said a million times, that our journeys have a pace of their own. You put pressure on yourself, then you're already tripping you up. And sometimes it takes a really long time to unprogram those thoughts. So it's okay if it takes you 7 years to believe the things on that list. It's okay. But that is what my experience was. I had a lot of baggage to deal with. So there we were. And now I'm here helping others. So those positive things, I want you to pick maybe 2 and say them out loud to your picture. I wrote that I love your eyes. I love how empathetic you are. And I love your sense of humor. And I also noted that I wrote 2 intrinsic things and 1 body thing. Whereas last time I wrote 2 body things that I didn't like and 1 intrinsic or mind thing, blah, blah.
All right, well, I'll go again then in order. So I love your smile, and I love your curiosity. And I also love your creativity. That felt a lot better than the last one, sorry.
This happens all the time. We like take a moment and then we start talking at the same time. That's how you know we spend so much time with someone, is you're like, and our frequencies are lining up. Okay, mine is, I'm excited to share. I'm feeling some type of way, so thank you. You attract physical spirit guides to your life in abundance. You have the power and the resilience of the warriors Athena, Joan of Arc, and Mary our Mother running through your veins. Your kind and soulful eyes reach out to other souls and put lights into the darkness. You have a powerful presence. Your ego is diminishing. Your light sparks light in those around you. Shine it, my love.
Wow. I might take note now. Don't compare your list to someone else's, because Mary is like a songstress, apparently. And everything. No, it's beautiful. I love that. But I found myself like almost like being mean to myself, like, oh well, I didn't come up with anything that pretty. But that's wonderful, and I think that's an important thing for me to take note. Like, I don't have to compare myself to you. We are not the same, and that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate the beauty that you project with these words. They're just wow. I love it.
Sometimes times when I find myself comparing to, and I was focusing on this a lot yesterday because women, just being around even my very best girlfriends, I compare myself a lot. But instead of thinking about like, oh wow, like she did it a lot better than this or whatever, instead I go, oh wow, I'm so glad that my beautiful, wonderful friend can remind me that I can do things in this way too, and that I can be creative in this, and that I don't have to, this is the box I use this time, and maybe next time I'll use something different or a different tool or whatever. I like thinking about, I'm not comparing myself, I'm being reminded by.
Right. And I think that's a really important thing to think about, especially with social media. We're bombarded constantly with the opportunity to compare ourselves to someone else. And I'm a quote junkie, so I kind of, gravitate towards neat little quotes that kind of emphasize the way I feel. And one is, comparing yourselves to other people on social media is like you're comparing your behind the scenes footage to their like good, their reel of perfection,
The production.
Yes, like this is their highlight reel. That's the word I was looking for. You're comparing your background bloopers to their highlight reel, and it's apples and oranges. But we do that. We do that as a society. We do that especially in social media, and social media gives the permission to falsify your life publicly, for lack of a better term.
True.
Not a whole lot of people are very authentic and genuine in their public social media life. They want people to think they're happy, that life is all gumdrops and candy canes. But if we really, really think about it, we know that's not the case, because nobody's life is all cupcakes and unicorns. It's just not reality. But it's hard to step back and acknowledge the fact that what you're seeing is not exactly the whole picture. And we have to be mindful of that. And we have to be mindful of that in ourselves as well. We're human. Sometimes we really screw shit up. Sometimes we make mistakes for whatever reason. And we have to be compassionate to ourselves for that. Like, for example, the pandemic was really hard for me. Broke my foot. My son broke his arm. I felt like I was trapped in my house for months and months. And I mean, I got kind of fat. And I felt very uncomfortable with myself. And it was definitely a challenging time for me, because I was comparing myself to other people and how other people were using the pandemic and the quarantine for productive things. And here I am, I just want to sleep on the couch and do nothing. I got depressed and I ate a lot, and and especially with my foot being broken, like my mobility was just non-existent. And I started comparing myself to other people, and then I really had to self-check, especially because my brother, he had a pretty tragic accident in July. He is a roofer, and they were helping to try to take a tree down, and they had a bucket on a forklift, and they were trying to pull a branch down, so they had a chain tied to the bucket, but someone forgot to chain the bucket to the forklift. So when they backed up to pull out the branch, they dropped 2 stories straight down. So, I mean, I broke my foot, but he broke both of his feet, and I mean, he's still working on trying to walk again, and he's been incredibly strong and just like an inspiration to me. I'm a whiny baby, I think, and he's so not. And so every time I was like lamenting about my own situation, I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to do that because it could be worse. You know, it sucks, but I have to be patient with myself. I have to be patient with my body and let my body heal. And I think that goes along with your emotion. That goes along with emotional damage. If you're trying to heal, it is not going to happen overnight. It takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes self-compassion. And that is why I have you make these lists about things that you like about yourself, because that's something that you need to remind yourself of every day. In time, if you go through that list and any one of those things you believe, cross it off, add another one, or just cross it off and let it go. Whatever works for you is what's important.
I love that you have such a running theme of keeping things by your mirrors. I have your warning thing up, and for Valentine's Day, I had all of my girlfriends, like, oh, remember, make sure you check in with yourself in the mirror, and
Yes.
affirmations and all of that. But I am gaining a new perspective in mirrors because of you, and I just want to thank you for that. That's really beautiful.
Well, you're welcome. I have this on my own mirror in my bathroom. Look, I brought it today. And I don't know. I just put it up there. I actually didn't put it up there right away when I made it. And I was like, hey, why don't I have this on my own mirror? I'm like giving it to everybody else to put on theirs, but I don't have it on my own. And sometimes I surprise myself because I will stand in that mirror in the morning and I will be frustrated with how uncooperative my hair is, or that I just sneezed after I put my mascara on and now I have to start all over again. But or my body, I'm a thicker girl. I always have been. And I find myself, especially lately, like reading it more and really taking it in and really, taking a deep breath and remembering, you know what? I still have value, even if I'm not a size 5. I still have value, even if I'm not blonde. And there are so many socially constructed ideas of beauty that damage so many of our society, of our community, of our children.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks my heart when I hear a 5-year-old crying because someone in her class called her fat. And fat is a very controversial word, I think, especially right now with a body positivity and body neutrality movement that we've been seeing come up around social media. But I see it in my own kid. Like, I'll say things that I don't think about first, and I'll say something like I'm fat, and he'll be like, no, you're not. Or I'll say I'm fat, and people are like, no, you're not. You're so beautiful. And I was like, I said I'm fat. I didn't say I'm ugly. But that word is equated with ugly. It still is. And it doesn't have to be, but that's how it has transcended and become a word that equates ugliness and And I am trying to change that in my own heart. And when I look at myself and say, hey, I'm not super happy about my size, but you know what? I can still walk. I am pretty okay to be around. I'm compassionate. I have more to offer than my body size. And I think that when we're doing these activities and we're thinking about the things that we say to ourselves that are negative, and we're thinking about whether those are physical traits or intrinsic traits or personality traits, it's important to think about the accuracy of that. And truly, I can't think of, well, okay, I'm going to stop there because there's probably some really yucky people out there that maybe shouldn't love themselves so much. I won't name names, but but I think it's important that
call that love at that point. You can't even call it love if you don't even recognize the wrong in the person.
Parasite.
Narcissists are a whole nother level, and we are not talking about them today.
No, we are not. We rise above.
Exactly.
Rise above.
So the reason why I had you do that picture and that child is because, I mean, most people are not going to come across some little kindergartner and say, hey, your hair looks really stupid today. Or, wow, you have really fat ankles. Like, what the heck? You know, we're not going to say that. Like, it is intuitive for us to be caring and nurturing and compassionate and loving towards children. And if we look at ourselves, even though we're looking at an adult in the mirror, if we think in our mind about that child, would we say that to them? And if the answer is no, then we need to reframe it. We need to flip it around and we need to focus on something else. We need to not say that. We need to speak to ourselves the way we would speak to ourselves as a child, the way we would speak to any child who is innocent and not completely crushed by society yet.
Absolutely.
And that's where it starts. And it just blossoms. And it just becomes a habit. If you do it every day, eventually you're going to catch yourself and you're going to be like, oh, okay, hold on. I am being really harsh on myself today. I'm going to just pause. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to rethink this. And I'm going to say something else.
Well, we know how important repetition is, but we've misconstrued it in some systems to being that's not good repetition. But this type of repetition is literally reframing your brain. The mantras and repeating those things is how this past month I have learned how to believe in myself because I don't let myself question it. I make them affirmations and affirmations. And what I'm seeing is I'm reshaping my brain the way that I see myself. And that is so awesome, powerful, and just incredible.
Incredibly powerful. And I'll say, like I had mentioned before, you know, I went through EMDR therapy for my depression and anxiety, and that is kind of the core of that process. Reframing those, I guess you would say, like free-flowing thoughts into something else, and using a physical entity in order to support that change. I don't want people to go up to their mirror and see these three things and then recite them off as though it's something to memorize every day. I want you to look at it. I want you to read it. And then I want you to pay attention to how you feel in your heart as a response to that. Because when you read it and the first feeling is doubt, then you're not ready to move on. You're not there yet. And reading them doesn't mean you have to believe them 100%. Like when I'm talking about the fatness, I'm very into the body positivity, the body neutrality movement. And if you don't know what body neutrality is, that means that maybe you don't like everything about yourself, but you still know that you have value. I don't have to like my ankles. I was unfortunate with my genetics in that area, and they're not great, and that's fine. But that doesn't define me as a person. It's just something I'm not super thrilled about, showing off. But that's a whole different experience than what I would have had maybe 5 years ago. I would have really hyper focused on that negative aspect of myself. And it's important because when you hyper focus on anything, it becomes a seed. If you're hyper focusing on something negative about your body, you're going to continue to think about 100 other things that you hate about it, that you hate about your body, that you hate about yourself. It's just going to branch off into all these little roots of negativity.
Weeds.
Yes. But not the good kind. But if you plant a seed of kindness in yourself, it will do the same. The only thing about the kindness seed is that it's a little bit more difficult to grow, because we all know that negative thoughts are much easier to pay attention to. They stand out more. We could have 10 good things happen to us, and one person says one negative thing to us, and that's what we latch on to.
Every time.
Every time. And it's hard, and everybody does it. But if you're intentional and you're mindful and you make this practice an intent, your seed will grow. It might be slow. You're going to have to fight off some of those weeds along the way, because they're going to try to get in there and they're going to try to mess it all up. And you have to be patient with yourself and the process. So, you said my assignment, yes. That's really all I have. That was my activity and my assignment. I would really encourage anyone who's watching this video, who's participating in this video, you girls, ladies, women, if you've done this assignment for a week, maybe 2 weeks, I'd be really excited to hear feedback, like on how that process is going for you. Yeah. So feel free to contact me through Messenger, or you can email me. I think my email is somewhere out there on the internet.
Yes,
Pretty easy.
we will make sure to share all of the contact info that we got from you last time.
It is in the comments of this video. So.
Okay, that's what I thought. I knew it was out there somewhere.
Yeah, or the
And I'd be really excited to hear your thoughts on how this experience went for you. I know it was it's difficult when you're just doing a virtual teaching and you can't really dive into conversations, and how that felt for you. But I know that first half was probably really hard. Even evoked some emotions for me. I know it did for you ladies. And I think that's something to explore. It's not something to berate yourself on, but definitely explore. Why was that so hard for us to say? Why did that evoke emotion? Anytime emotion is evoked, for me personally, it's usually something raw, something that's still pretty raw. Like when I talk about the past few years and my mental health battle and being suicidal. See, I've already talked about it to you guys enough that I'm not crying right now, but before, I mean, when I do I talk about it because it's important. And the more I talk about it, the less power it has. And when I can talk about things like, say, my childhood traumas without a whole lot of outward emotion, I feel like that means I've gotten to a place where that's really healed. Like, still there, it's still part of my life, but it is no longer a part that controls everything I do. And when we're talking about how we speak to ourselves on the daily, you're saying those things to yourself and they're making you cry, then those are things that are really, really on your heart and something that you might want to work on. I mean, not in a bad way. I mean, that might sound really negative. That's not what I mean, though. But I mean, like, when it's evoking that much emotion, then it's big for you, you know, and that can help you have guidance on how you want to proceed beyond that, how you want to approach it, address it, and then heal and get past it.
I would love to share to hold us accountable how we're going to take this class and into our daily lives to also spark some ideas, because for everyone it looks different, you know, and like it's really a personal journey too, and that's what I think has been something I've had to accept. As I look at some guides and then I realize, oh, I'm trying to mimic, and that's not the point at all, because it's my journey, my growth, my spiritual to connect with others, but not mimicking others to try and connect that way. So something that I took away was I'm going to hold myself accountable to post the nitty gritties, the side of social media that is lacking, because we're all going through it. And when we realize that we're all in this together. Yesterday, Ellery had this beautiful story. Yesterday was a day full of stories, and stories are the best way to grow, I feel. And she talked about this tree in Japan that had these beautiful flowers and many branches. And the tree had been gone through this rough storm. And everyone was assuming, oh, this tree is going to die. I mean, look at it. It's basically dead. But the tree survived. And when they studied, they saw that underneath these roots were strong and went for miles and miles and miles and connected to all of the other trees. And so as a collective, even though branches were torn away and things were chipped away, their roots were connected. And so showing that side is how I can connect with those who are also wanting to be rooted and growing, but needing that lifeline, seeing that it is not just sunshine and rainbows. It's not. And a lot of times self-care looks like bawling and praying and moving and just being real and raw and knowing that shadows are how we grow. If we don't come to our shadows and acknowledge them, another Ellery quote, acknowledge them, but choose to look to the light. We have to see those and we have to go through those to get to the light, to be in the light, to be sun basking like cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm taking from this that, yes, what I definitely need to be focusing on, because even yesterday I knew I did a lot of really good work towards overcoming my anxiety and my feelings of lesserness and in like a lot of mental states. But I am definitely going to be thinking about the physical things that I see every day and telling myself that how good I am, but also being more honest and not being like, even when I was writing down the things that I was scared about, I was still like, oh, I don't want to be too specific about my anxiety and what makes me scared about the anxiety. I'll just say anxiety because like that's everybody has anxiety, but like what I mean is like, geez, I feel just downright stupid about that. You know, like I wish that I had gone even more honest and been even more truthful. So this is a beautiful practice, and I'm really glad that you introduced this. We'll definitely do this daily, and we will definitely be checking in with the 2 weeks. We'll send you an update.
Yeah, I would love, if you're interested, we could do another session sometime and talk about this and take it a step further, and maybe a journey to self-love, kind of.
Yes, it is a journey. I would love that.
Yeah, and whatever, it can be as flexible and whatever, but I think this idea, not just for ourselves, but then for this community as well. Like, that is the whole purpose of Flow AF, and we are connecting through the virtual world, which is incredible. So we might as well just do it together.
Yes, I would be very excited about that. Yeah.
I love.
More powerful people doing powerful things together. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I suppose then with that, if you're finished with the teaching and if we're finished with our comments, I guess we can wrap up. But thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Any final thoughts or quotes or random thoughts you'd like to share just as we close out of this beautiful Valentine's Day?
Oh, wow. I'm just really excited. I think my studio is going to be opening up next month, finally, again. I'm really excited for that. We have the Witches Coven shoot that's happening on the 21st.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh. And I feel even more excited about that now because I did have some negative community feedback about the events, which made me have to find a new venue. And then the new venue now is going to be even better. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. Also going to be doing an empowerment event again this year and expanding that. And I talked to you a little bit about that and having you ladies come do a presentation of some kind to all my wonderful people that will show up. So that's in the works. We've got that going on.
Where can we get more info about the Coven shoot and all of that? Where can people go?
Where can you find it?
Yes.
It is on my Facebook page. I can post some stuff on Instagram too, but I didn't want to post anything until I knew exactly where we were going to be. So it's going to be at Camp Augustine, which is over by Doniphan, or the exit of Doniphan or something like that. I haven't scouted it out yet, but I'll know a little bit more how to like help people find it. Should be able to find it through Camp Augustine, but it's a little Boy Scout campsite, and it's got all these really cool like tree covered trails, and there's like an old brick well house that, oh man, I'm just so excited. And then we've got like fire pits, and just I'm gonna bring smoke bombs, and someone else is bringing some fire color stuff, so we'll have lots more scenes to choose from. And so we'll be doing probably just one group photo at the beginning, and then I'll be doing like people's individual or group shots after that. Then the empowerment event might be a little bit longer, so we might end up having to have 2 group photos. I'm trying to figure out the logistics of that. It's pain, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be great. And it's something I want to do every year because we need that in our community. So bad.
Thank you for being the catalyst for it.
Well, I got to do something with my life.
You've inspired me, and I've been thinking of like what to call this journey that I'm embarking on, and it's kids empowerment, which encompasses yoga, mindfulness, meditation, all of these ideas and aspects which empower you to empower yourself and those people around you, because that's how we change the world.
I love it. I love it. Oh, and you were talking about the tree, and that made me think of a book that I'm going to bring you that I think you'll love. It's one of my favorites, and I'll let you borrow it. It's called The Tree with No Branches. And oh man, my heart. It's just like an awesome book. So I'm going to bring that to you so you can check it out and maybe read it to your kids, because it is legit one of my favorite books of all time. I love it so much.
Love. Well, my heart is full.
Yes. Valentine's.
Good. That's what you need on Valentine's Day.
My heart chakra is just open and vibrating, and I just feel that is so needed. That work, that self-work every single day, but today of all days, it's like with the universe and the cosmos, it's all just, I love it.
Awesome. That makes me happy. That makes me feel like the universe is balancing things for you, and I know it's been tough, so I'm really, really happy to hear that for you.
Well, all the love, but we are so blessed to have you, and we can't wait to share this and have other people experience this class and future classes. We'll be chatting about all those exciting opportunities, and
okay.
rest of your day.
You guys have a great day.